you're best in position to serve people who you once were. If you're looking for a niche, who were you once? What have you overcome? And what are you still overcoming? That's what life's all about, right? The most successful podcasters who actually use their content to grow their business or just make a positive impact in the world, they're more focused on reaching that one person that needs to hear what they have to say, more than just having a whole bunch of people click a like button or click a subscribe button. Always compete with yourself so that you can continue to help people who you once were.
What is the first step that they need to take to start building their brand online?
The statistic that's startling in podcasting is that 80% of people who make it through the
Yeah. What's everybody fighting for? Why can't people help people? That's the question.
Oh my God, it's people helping people!
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another amazing episode of People Helping People. Feels good. So excited for tonight's episode, you guys. As you know, we are on chapter 5. And man, we have had some incredible people on the show. And I'm not going to waste any time because this show is no exception. This gentleman is kind of the person that I need to speak to right now. What he does is help people understand the pivotal moment of being the person who is actually sharing their story and the importance of long form content. And you know what? Let's just let him explain it. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome to the show, Sir Jon Goehring.
Alexander. I'm kind. I haven't even said anything yet. You're giving me a round of hold off on that. Let's
Welcome
see if
to
I
the
deliver.
show. You get one of these too. Yeah, that's how we do it here.
Thank you, man. I don't know if I've ever been in a room where both people have shirts with microphones on them. So this is my kind of conversation here.
Love it, man. Love it. Well, for the people that don't know, I'm so happy to have you here for one. It's an honor. I know you're a busy man, and for you to take time out of your day to come and sit here with us today, I really appreciate you. But for the people that don't know, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Sure. Yeah. Jon Goehring, founder of Story Trust Media, award-winning podcast producer. I'm a voiceover artist as well and a local radio personality here in upstate New York. I went to school for radio. I got into the industry thinking that that would be my forever home. My career, radio is where it's at, man. And I still love radio. I got nothing against radio, but that medium has shifted a lot to the podcasting world. And so that's where I've pivoted to as well. Founded my business, Story Trust Media, all about helping people build trust through the stories that they tell and how important it is to deliver more positive content into the world, which we are at a horrible lack of. We have more voices than ever, but not enough positive ones that are actually delivering value and building trust. That's what Story Trust Media is about. I've been doing it for several years now and loving every minute of it.
I love it, man. Well, thank you for being here. And as the people know, the good stuff, the heartfelt stuff, it just kind of falls by the wayside a lot of the time. You know, I know my most viral clip on this show is me as a type 1 diabetic having a hypoglycemic attack in the middle of the show, sweating bullets, being like, I need juice. And it's like, that's the stuff that takes off though, right? So
that's insane.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So let's dive a little bit into the value of storytelling and why that's so important to you.
Well, it all goes back to trust. Trust is the best kind of currency in business. And I work with businesses like coaches and consultants, B2B businesses where they're really operating with high trust transactions. The people who are hiring them need to trust them. You don't need to trust, your grocery store as much or drive-through restaurant. You need a lower degree of trust for that. But for somebody to coach you, for somebody to consult with your business, you need to trust them. So how do you build that trust? Well, you can build it one-on-one, and that's very important. But when you want to scale and when you want to reach more people, it's important to build that trust one to many. And that's where the power of something like a platform like podcasting comes in. And in a world where we're so addicted to that short form content that, the clip that you just mentioned, something like that is what's getting all of the attention. There's still a space for trust building long form content. It's just more niched. And if you ever heard the riches are in the niches, that's so true, especially when it comes to content. And long form content is still has a significant audience for. And so that's what I help people with, is that longer form content, but then also repurposing it into that shorter form ways to reach a larger audience, to bring people in so that they can also get the benefit of the longer form.
I love what you said there. It's so interesting when you're saying that, because I feel as though, like we said, the things that go viral are, the negative stuff, or the shocking things. And we have built something here that is the polar opposite of that. Like, let's come together, let's band arm in arm. And the interesting thing that I've found as we're building this is the numbers don't matter. Like, our community may be small, but we are mighty, and they ride for us. So a lot of people, I feel, when they are in this space and they are trying to build and they're looking at these other Instagram accounts or these other YouTube pages, and they're like, man, how do they get to 100, 200, 300,000 followers or subscribers? And it must be amazing. But I'm finding that keeping things small and more communal is just as beneficial. If you have people that ride for you, it's so important.
Man, you just hit on the number one principle of podcasting, in my opinion, and that's quality over quantity. I talk about this all the time on my podcast, on my social media videos. It's all about having an engaged audience. And if that's 50 people, Alexander, would you go speak to a room of 50 people if you were invited to talk?
Dude, I would be nervous, but I'd be there.
For some reason, we would hands down go speak in front of 50 people to promote our business.
Right.
But for some reason, 50 subscribers or 50 listeners to a podcast, that seems so small and irrelevant. But man, if I got 50 engaged, they come back for more, they might potentially want to work with me or refer me or somehow, give value to me while in return for the value I'm giving them. And I'll take that any day over 10,000 disengaged subscribers.
Preach.
Right. And so that's for podcasting. That's for YouTube channels. That's for an email newsletter. I hear people brag all the time. My email newsletter's got 5,000 subscribers. Well, how many of them open your emails? How many of them read your emails? My newsletter's got about 55. I'm not trying to brag because, obviously that's a low number, but over 50% of them read the emails. And, I'm trying to grow it from there. And there's nothing wrong with quantity. Don't get me wrong. There's nothing wrong with trying to grow your show, trying to reach more people. Reach is so important. But the number one principle is quality over quantity. People are so obsessed with virality and numbers. And the most successful podcasters who actually use their content to grow their business or just make a positive impact in the world, they're more focused on reaching that one person that needs to hear what they have to say, more than just having a whole bunch of people click a like button or click a subscribe button.
I love that, man. I got to give you one of these. Come on.
Well, thank you.
And it's so true. It is so true. And I'm so glad that we're bringing this to light right now. And we're having this conversation. And I'm thinking of the kids that are sitting here, or adults, or whomever has something to share with the world. And they have a niche, right? They have one thing that's like this niche that's special. And they want to start going out and building a brand for themselves. What would you say to that person? Like, what is the first step that they need to take to start building their brand online? What is the first step that they need to take to start building their brand online? This episode is sponsored by the Diabetes Network of Arizona, a community built by people living with type 1 diabetes for people living with type 1 diabetes. They host Arizona's only family camp for type 1 diabetics, giving kids and family a place to connect, learn, and feel understood. Every dollar raised stays right here in Arizona, helping local families get the care and supplies that they need. No one should ever face diabetes alone, and with your help, they don't have to. You can make a difference today by clicking the donation link in the description. The Diabetes Network of Arizona, building a stronger, healthier Arizona together. Let's get back into the episode. What is the first step that they need to take to start building their brand online?
I would ask them, where have you been? Because you're best in the position to serve the people who you once were. So where have you been? What challenges have you overcome? There's a lot of people wanting to become an expert at something, wanting to be some go-to voice in an industry that they don't have any experience in. And they typed into AI, hey, give me, a 10-part podcast series outline about this particular topic because I want to be an expert in it. No, you're an expert in the experiences you've already had. So, I mean, for me, I've started several podcasts. So I like to say I can help you start a podcast. For somebody who's, like for me, another part of my journey is I've dealt with some mental health challenges. You're best in position to serve people who you once were. So that's number one. If you're looking for a niche, who were you once? What have you overcome? And what are you still overcoming? Because nobody's perfect. Nobody's reached the end. I'm not saying you have to have been all the way through to now start helping people get through, but that's what life's all about, right? It's about overcoming those challenges and turning around and helping those along the way who are in the same boat. That's what I believe God put us here to do.
Gosh, ask those questions. That is so good. Ask yourself, where have you been? What have you made it through? And who are you here to serve? Because honestly, you feel so alone sometimes with your struggles, and it's hard to share those things, especially on a platform where you have judgment. You have people that are out there to hate because of the place that they're in currently. Gosh, let's talk about that a little bit, because I have got a backlash within this podcast itself.
Really?
Right? And I mean,
wow.
We put on an event where we were going to give a family that was in need a car. And there was this group of 15 people that were going to be showing up to this event. We had a great turnout minus the 15, but we're going to be giving this family a car. News stations there, all these. I mean, we did our best to like make this impact something that people could feel right throughout Tucson. And this group of people decided, from what I heard through the grapevine, they're like, well, why aren't you guys showing up? And they're like, well, why would we support some white guy giving away a car for tax benefits? And I mean, it didn't even chink my armor at all, because it's like, you didn't ask me one question. You didn't have a conversation at all with me, nor have you looked at any of my content to see if there is any validation in what you're saying. Because like you said, the story that we have developed over time, and my story that I've shared with the world, there's merit to that, right? And so what about sharing with the world and knowing that there's going to be backlash? Do you have advice for people on that?
Man, again, since the riches are in the niches, you got to block out that outside noise, right? And easier said than done. I'm not saying you're not doing a good job if you let some of that get to you, because of course it's going to get to you. I've had people comment on my stuff. I just saw a comment the other day, your content sucks. I'm like, oh, geez, thanks. Like, clearly I'm doing something right here, right? Because if you haven't pissed somebody off, you're not being authentic enough. And authenticity is honestly one thing that we're also missing in our world right now. It's such a bizarre thing, because the gap between how much we talk about authenticity and how authentic we actually are is so huge, because we've never talked about being authentic more, right? Yet we got filters on all our stuff. We're only showing the best sides of us. There's a lack of authenticity because of that fear of being mocked or being ridiculed or being looked at a certain way. We're so self-conscious, so we're so inauthentic, yet we keep talking about how important authenticity is. So if nobody's ever insulted your content or said something stupid like that moron did to you about giving away the car, like, you're probably not being authentic enough. You're probably not showing up as your true self. So take that as a positive sign. Take that as, hey, I'm doing something right. If somebody's mad about what I'm putting out there in the world, I'm doing something right.
Yeah. Gosh, well said. Well said. accrue some haters because it's going to happen. And if it doesn't, then you need to be louder with who you are. And it's totally
right.
okay. It's going to be
That's
there.
right.
Dude, and you just said something that made me think about authenticity in this world that we're in right now. Being a musician, being somebody who does podcasting, I have conversations, I'm a business owner. I think about this world of AI and in how many things I use it as a tool, and then how many things I feel as though it is stripping our authenticity away. So let's talk about the balance of that. Let's talk about the balance of authentically doing what you do and then utilizing something as a tool that can sometimes strip the authenticity from something.
Oh, great question. Because AI is a great tool.
Mm.
It's like, oh, you must hate AI because it's taking your jobs. And no, I don't think that's true at all because there's more content out there right now. And what AI does is it just moves moves the needle as far as where you need to be going. So where it used to be have to release one video clip a week, now it's you got to release 14. I mean, AI has just allowed us to create content so much faster that the standard is higher. That doesn't mean it's replacing us. It's just allowing us to work more efficiently. Just like when the internet came out, right? Now we can send communications faster, et cetera, right? So how do we make it, like what you mentioned, it's a tool versus something that strips our authenticity? I think it's the difference between using it as a content generator or a content helper. So in the content space, I love using it for certain things like editing, for easily putting subtitles down. There was a day and age back when I first started with this stuff, we had to type out the subtitles. Remember that, Alexander?
Oh, the bane of my existence.
We had to literally type them out. Now, obviously AI is not perfect, so we don't want to just, let it do its thing and not check it, but it saves a ton of time because it does that for us. It saves a ton of time by editing certain things, by, allowing us to repurpose content better, even finding some of the best clips of a podcast episode, for example. But those are what I consider positive uses as a tool. Hey, AI, write me a script so that I can, record a podcast episode about this. Well, now it's not your own thoughts, So is AI a content creator for you? No, I think that's where the authenticity, it gets in the way there versus AI being a tool to help you with your workflow.
I love that, man. And I really feel like authenticity, being that maybe it's not dwindling, but there is more of the AI content creation surfacing.
Yeah.
It's becoming so convoluted, right? And I love hearing music that has people singing a little bit out of key. I love hearing when a drummer is a little bit off. I love hearing in a podcast like somebody slipping over the words because they're not perfect, right? Like not having great segues. And it's just like, it's refreshing, man. It really is.
Yeah. So as a musician, I know, because I've heard of that. I don't know how true this is. You know better. Aren't there charting songs that are created completely by AI? Like, what's going on there?
Dude, I am almost embarrassed to admit that right before this podcast, I was listening to an AI album, an funk album. And this dude has taken all the classic rock songs from like the late 90s and early 2000s, and he has funkified them like straight up Motown funk, just thick snares, juicy bass lines, and all of the songs. I know every single lyric to them because they're my old school music, but it's funkified. And it's so good, except for the fact the singers never miss a note and their vocal runs are absolutely absurd. And the more you listen to that stuff, the more you catch on to it and the more that you start to strive for the authenticity.
Yeah.
Really
and I don't know about you, but I love live music too.
Oh,
and that's something that AI will never be able to replace. And again, using AI as a tool, but AI will never create the experience that a live show, for example, creates. So I know that's an off-topic thing, but I was just curious your thoughts on it.
Yeah, yeah, I'm with you. And you know, again, was just listening to, and as a musician, I'm glad you asked that because as a musician, I'm almost embarrassed to bring up the fact that this music is so good. It really
Mm,
is very, very good. But at the same time, I find myself yearning to go back to like the Zeppelin days and listening to the guys that were sitting in a studio and just playing things live. You know,
yeah.
they just it was one take. And but in any event, I want to pivot a little bit because I want to get to know John. You said that, you know, there was a bit of a mental health struggle, and I don't know if that's continuous for you, but let's talk about your journey a little bit that brought you into broadcasting, that brought you to where you are today.
Yeah, man, I always loved telling stories when I was a kid. You ask my parents, they still got, like, little, like, cassette tapes. I don't even really know what that is. They were kinda phasing out as I was growing older, but they still have them of, of me pretending to be a broadcaster. I'd sit in front of the TV, a sporting event, and I'd call the game. I'd be the play-by-play announcer for that game, and they still have those, and it's kinda funny looking back, like, it was always in the cars, right? So I
Mhm.
went to high school. I kind of got into newspaper writing and got into that industry. I have this knack for entering dying industries. So I kind of wanted to get into that. But as soon as I got to college, I knew I had fallen in love and found my passion when I walked into the radio station at a campus radio station there. And that's where I cut my teeth, learned the ropes of radio. I knew I'd fall in love as soon as I walked into that room and they welcomed me in. It's just this welcoming community of people who are a little odd like me aren't quite, aren't quite all there all the time, but a little bit too big of an ego, love the sound of their own voice, that kind of thing. I'm like, all right, these are my kind of people. So
Yeah.
I, from there, I interned at a station here in upstate New York, which I still do some contract work for. Ended up getting a full-time position there and working there for a bit. And radio was gonna be it, man. Right? Like I was gonna go from this town, Rochester, to a bigger town, maybe like a Tucson or a Phoenix or something, and then eventually hit it big in the Chicago's or the LA's or the New York's of the world. That was my career trajectory. I had it all planned out in my head, right? But unfortunately, in 2020, iHeartMedia laid off a ton of people. That wasn't my company, and I wasn't laid off, but I had kind of seen the writing on the wall. Like, man, this industry, they're cutting costs, they're finding ways to incorporate AI, and they're doing this thing called syndicating, where now I got most of the shows that are playing here in Rochester, New York, are actually coming out of New York or LA, and they're just being blasted across the country, which is eliminating jobs, eliminating local talent. And I realized, man, I got to do something. So that's when Story Trust Media became a thought in my mind. I thought, well, I always kind of had this entrepreneurial, like, anti-authority, wanted to do my own thing kind of bug in me. So that's why I got into this. And long story short, ended up landing at podcasting because that's the most radio-like thing there is. It's like radio without the FCC regulations, which is a beautiful thing. So that's where I am now, man, and I love it. And you mentioned like you said, there's so much more to my journey, and I'm happy to go whatever way would be most valuable to your audience. I love talking mental health. I love talking how important my faith is in that journey. All of it, man, is important. But professionally, that's how I've gotten to this point.
Very nice. Very nice. I love to hear the arc, of walking into that radio station and kind of having this aha moment and how that totally changed the trajectory of your life. I want to talk about that pivotal moment too of deciding to start this business and
Mm,
you not really taking well to authority, because I think a lot of people are in those positions where they just are either having issues with their boss or their job is not fulfilling, and there's a decision to be made. And I want to talk about that moment and the things that, yeah, let's just break down that specific moment of starting your own thing and building that brand and choosing a name. Tonight's episode of People Helping People Live is sponsored by Mike Silkowski. He's your local partner in getting your message in front of the right people. Mike specializes in helping businesses right here in Southern Arizona reach their ideal customers through TV and streaming services.
He's not just sponsoring this chapter 3 of People Helping People. He's building partnerships, and he doesn't succeed unless you do. If you're ready to grow your business with someone who's invested in your success, call Mike at 515-305-5311. Again, that's 515-305-5311.
Break down that specific moment of starting your own thing and building that brand and choosing a name.
Sure. Yeah. So I would say listen to your body, right? Because our bodies tell us a lot. And when I walked into the radio station, going back to college for the first time, right? When I wasn't quite sure, I knew I wanted to get into like some sort of journalism or writing or speaking or that kind of thing. But when I walked into that radio station and they put me behind the mic, they were stupid enough to put a freshman behind the mic and to do his thing and to get on the air. And I put those headphones that looked a lot like the headphones you have on now on. And I was like, all of a sudden there's this wave of adrenaline and emotion in my body. And you know how cool it is because you got headphones on when you talk into the mic and you hear your own voice in those headphones, and they're high quality headphones. So like it sounds really good.
The best. The compression there just feels so good. Yeah. In the zone.
That was when in my body I felt that, man. Like that was adrenaline for me. And that's not a feeling I had ever really felt before. The only thing I could compare it to is as a kid having that adrenaline of calling the games on TV with no audience except my parents, right? Like that was the only thing I could compare it to. The other thing was in radio, we do this thing called, we talk over intros of music. So we do this thing called walking up a song, which is basically, all right, we got a song starting. It has a, say, 12-second intro of, just music, no vocals yet. And then we walk up that song, meaning we talk while and hit that song at the same time. So we're talking over that music, and then we time it so that we stop talking exactly when those lyrics start. We call that hitting the post. If you listen to radio, that's a very common thing. And that became like a game for me too, where I'm sitting there, counting my words, making sure that I'm getting everything out that I need to get into. 89.1 The Point. That was a new one from Juice World. I'm Jon Goehring. Thanks for hanging with me today. If you're over at Brockway Dining Hall, thanks for having us on. Hope the hamburgers are good tonight. And then boom, the next song would start. That was a thrill, man. So listen to your body, because I'd never felt anything like that before. Long story short, got into radio, right? Got into working in radio here professionally, not at the college station, and did it for several years, and enjoyed it. But over time, just again, listen to your body. It started to fade. That excitement started to fade. It started to be more like this fear of, I got to say the right thing. I can't piss off the boss. I got to make sure I don't mess up, right? There wasn't that free flowing creativity of it. And then culminating in all those events with layoffs in the industry and AI moving in, and then a pandemic in the middle of, started at the end of that. So that's when, I started my own podcast. And sure enough.
What was your podcast? Sorry for interjecting there.
No worries. So I started this podcast called the Limitless Leadership Lounge with a co-host of mine. And, we talk about leadership principles and bring on, some of the best leaders in the world, really. And it's a cool podcast for me because it's not monetized. It's not something that, I even profit off of, but it's in my, I get to be inquisitive. I get to ask questions. I get to learn from some of the best. These people who, charge $10,000 an hour for coaching, we get them on for free because, it's a podcast, right? So that's kind of the strategy behind that. But when I started that and started producing content for my own brand, outside of that, and then I started to get that feeling again, and I was like, oh wow, here it is again, that same feeling that I was feeling freshman year of college, getting behind the mic for the first time. I'm not feeling that at work right now, but I'm feeling that with my side hustle thing. So that's kind of when I knew. And listening to your body, listening to those emotions that tell you, kind of pull you in the right direction. As a person of faith, I think that may be God. I think that may be the Holy Spirit leading me. But no matter what, your body really does tell you when it's time to make a change or do something different.
I love it, man. Come on. Oh, whoops. Wrong one. I love it, man. And it's so interesting because, like I said, that arc is so unique to everybody. And I love that you also sit there and you utilize your podcast, this tool that you have to gain knowledge and to have these conversations.
Yeah.
What do you say to somebody that's looking to find that tool? I mean, you said obviously follow your intuition. If your body is telling you something, jump on it, try it out. You know, what's the worst that happens? It doesn't work out. You're not going to live with regret, right? But for somebody that wants to start, say, a podcast and have these conversations with people, what's a great first step for them to get going?
I would say niching down.
Mm,
So actually, Simon Sinek has a great book. It's called Start with Why. Right. That is a phenomenal book. It's all about, your purpose. You will never have a strong enough what if you don't have a why. You'll never have the processes or the habits in place if you don't have a greater reason to do what you're doing. So in business, our why can't just be, well, I want to make a lot of money. Well, why? I'm not saying that's even a bad thing. I'm just saying why. Is it to be able to go on great vacations? Is it to, right? So all those types of things start with why. So for your podcast, a few different great reasons to start a podcast, and none of them are wrong. It could just be a hobby for fun, the satisfaction of doing something and putting something out there in the world. That's great. It could be to learn. The Limitless Leadership Lounge, the one podcast that I do with my co-host, that's to learn. That's to network and learn. It's an opportunity, like I said, to get these people on who are fairly big names in the world of leadership. They lead big companies, and I just get to sit back, ask whatever questions I want, and it's a masterclass, right? And then we get to share it with the world and share positive content with the world because they get to help our audience too. So that's another great reason. Networking would be a third reason. So part of that, again, with that leadership podcast, to get in the same room with some of these people, having a podcast is a great opportunity because you as a host, by bringing somebody onto your podcast and loaning your audience to them, you're doing them a favor.
mm,
You're doing your guests a favor. Alexander's doing me a favor tonight. I mean,
mm.
you could say, oh, John's doing Alexander a favor too because I'm giving him his time. Sure, maybe, hopefully, but overall, I'd say, Alexander, this is you doing me a favor, man. You're loaning me your audience and giving me the opportunity to speak about things I'm passionate about for an hour or whatever. That is a favor. So when you get to provide value to someone, that's a great in for networking, right? So that's another great reason to start a podcast. And then the fourth reason I would say is, to help your business in some way, to drive leads to your brand by establishing yourself as an authority figure in your industry. So
Mm.
again, you got those four reasons. You're doing it for fun or a hobby. You're doing it to learn, you're doing it to network, or you're doing it to drive business growth.
I
Figure
love
out what reason it is. And then when you start with why, and then you go from there, you're able to niche down and take the next steps.
Yeah, well said. Well said, first of all. But that's so important. And it seems as a recurring segment on this show, people, when they're asked the question of if or when or whatever, it's always returned to the question of themselves, right? Like, why find just boiling things down. And I think that it is so important to ask the proper questions to yourself to really figure out the reasons that you're going to be on the path or that trajectory that you're shooting towards. And so I think that's really good advice. Ask that why. See what is the reasoning behind your thought process. I love it, man. And your why is
For the Limitless Leadership
let's
Lounge, it's to learn.
yes, exactly. Let's talk about the
Absolutely.
business side of things.
The business side of things. Oh, so why did I start my business? And
Mhm.
that's a great question, right? Well, I mean, as a person of faith, I believe that God has put me here for a reason. And I believe that that's, it's my job to try and fulfill that purpose with God's help. And part of the thing that I think we're lacking in our world is, not voices, not religion, not, people out there yelling and screaming and saying what's right and what's wrong and creating divisive content, but it's positive things that bring people together. And ultimately we were designed to be in community with one another and to get along. That's ultimately what we were designed to do. Of all different, people, all different races and walks of life and geographies, right? So that's what by helping people tell their stories, I want to put more positive content out there in the world. I like to say that the person that I want to work with is a mission driven messenger. So they have a mission that they're out there to do, and they want to send messages about that mission to promote that mission. That's why we work with several nonprofits too, because that's important too, those missions. But even a coach or a consultant sharing a positive mission in the world, and giving them the tools and the training, and taking some of the production of that content off their plate so they can share that with the world and make just the littlest ripple in this big world of content, which is saturated with all the negativity and the division. That's my why. Long answer to a simple question, but man, that's my why. I want to see algorithms change. I want to see us, consuming content that uplifts us rather than makes us more angry and depressed and anxious.
Yes, well said. I love it. I love it. And I just feel as though it's an uphill battle. And it's it's encouraging to hear others on that same journey. And I know us here, it's definitely an uphill battle, but I just know consistency and having the conversations with people like yourself who are doing big things in the world is super important. But I want to kind of break down the nitty gritty of the business, right? Because as any entrepreneur, you're going to have a lot of highs and lows. Let's talk about some of the lessons that you learned after you started your business. What are some of the hard lessons that you learned and had to overcome?
Lesson number one was stop being such a competitor and be more of a collaborator.
Come on.
My first big, lesson that I had to learn the hard way was, hey, Jon, you're not competing against everybody else out there. I'm thinking, I got to be better than this producer. I did some voiceover too. I got to be better than this voiceover actor, right? Like, I got to get this job. And, it's a high driving competitive nature. And a lot of the content out there, to go back to content, that some of these big business influencers put out in the world, and some are good and some I'm not so fond of, but is that whole very dog eat dog nature of like beat everybody else, outwork everybody, right? And hustle and work ethic are important, but what actually moves the needle forward is when you get people on your team, when you get collaborators. Starting a podcast is a great way to do that too, because now you're bringing people into your network who will speak kindly of you, who will potentially refer you, but you build relationships without expecting anything else in return. And you collaborate in ways, whether it be through content creation like this, or by simply making an introduction, or by simply, I had somebody message me on LinkedIn this morning, and she just sent me like this little graphic of, some motivation, hey, I hope you have a great Monday. I don't know her other than collaborating on, a couple little things on LinkedIn. I don't know the lady, but that made me smile. Like, that little piece of collaboration, even if it's just motivation, that's how you move the needle forward. And we're so obsessed with competition in our world, but there's enough to go around. What do I think I'm going to produce everybody's podcast? Like, no, there's enough to go around. So stay in your niche and collaborate with others who are in your niche or are in, kind of periphery niches, right? The niches around your niche, and collaborate with them. Stop trying to be so dang competitive.
Gosh, well said. Absolutely. I feel as though you've been watching episodes of People Helping People. It's so great because it's so great, man, because that's our rhetoric. That's our story as well. It's not feast or famine. We are all here for a similar goal, and in one way or another, we can all intertwine. And gosh dang, like if I can give you guests that gave us great experience and we can collaborate back and forth. And I love what you said, because I want to hit this home. To give without expectations of anything in return is so important. And we have brought that up a few times on the show. And it's just, I feel as though the only way to be disappointed is to have expectations. So if you get rid of that, your life is
True.
going to be looking good. I love
Yeah, man. And it's just it's a posture thing too. Cause once we start giving with the I scratch your back, you scratch mine. We scratch people's backs differently, right? We scratch it with the expectation of getting something in return. That just smells. You ever meet that person in business who's like, you can tell like they want something out of you. They're giving you something up front, but they're doing it in expectation of something in return. And I will clarify one thing I said too when it comes to competition and collaboration. There is one person that you should be competing with, and you know who that is? You got it.
Yeah,
Come on, give yourself a little round of applause. Thing. You got it. And I say that because do you remember who the person you're in best position to serve is?
Well, God.
Well, I agree with that. But also, I would say the person you're in best position to serve is the person who you once were, right? And so if we are not continuing to improve daily, just before this, I was in the gym downstairs. I did 8 pull-ups. Last time I did 7. Okay. Like I'm proud of that. Like I'm not comparing myself to the people who do, 12,000. Somebody just broke a world record for how many pull-ups they did in a day. It's insane. I'm not comparing myself to that dude. I'm comparing myself to who I was yesterday.
Yeah.
And that's important to me because not only do I continuously improve and grow, and become, the person that I believe God made me to be, but also because now I get the opportunity to help somebody who used to be me, right? Because I'm continuously improving and growing. So bottom line is, yes, collaborate versus compete, but always compete with yourself so that you can continue to help people who you once were.
I love it, man. Absolutely. And as we're sitting here, you're talking about that. I'm thinking about how we can improve as people helping people. And maybe this will be I hope that this isn't a selfish portion of this conversation, right?
Nah, man.
I hope there's other people out there that have podcasts that are just waiting to hear from somebody who has been in the business for a long time. So, Jon, as we're sitting here, I'm going to be recording this episode. I'm going to put together a nice little packaged intro. There's going to be 3 to 5 shorts from this conversation. The conversation is going to go live, all of that, right? Is there a specific platform or timeline, or give me some juice when it comes to after you film a podcast and putting it out into the world? What is the best way to go about doing it?
After you film, great question. Okay. I'd love to, if you're okay with it, come back to, while you're filming and things like that, because I'm happy to share some tips about that. But after you film, leverage the network that you already have. That's the most underutilized network that we have. Is it have every one of your previous guests, have you sent them an email to leave a review on your show? Leaving reviews on Apple Podcasts and ratings on Spotify are one of the most organic ways you can grow a show, because that tells the algorithm people like this, right? And even if you get a bad review, don't sweat it. Better 1,000 reviews where you have a 4.9 rating than 5 reviews that are all 5 stars. Right?
Jon, am I an absolute idiot because I've done over 100 episodes of People Helping People and we're still not on audio only? We are not on Spotify. We're not on iTunes.
No, man, you're not an idiot at all. I'd say, it's potentially an opportunity for you to expand and make this grow even more. Cause I see you're already over 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. You're getting consistent views on videos and stuff. But so that's certainly an opportunity. If you're not on audio yet, get on as many platforms as you can. So maybe I should back up and start there, right?
Right.
Like
yeah.
we get on as many platforms as you can. Meet people where they are. We can't expect people to seek us out. We have to meet people where they are. So whether that's being on a social media platform, people always choose the social media platforms they're on based on which ones they like, which makes sense. But also, where's your audience? I work with coaches, consultants, professionals, B2B, more in the B2B space. So, man, I'm all over LinkedIn. I'm not on TikTok. I mean, I could be, but that's not my target market, right? So be where your people are. And oftentimes on the platform, a lot of people love listening to podcasts in the car on the way to work. YouTube is an important platform that you're already on. That is, quite possibly the most important, but try to be in as many places as possible so you can meet people where they are. So that would be my number one advice. And like I said, number two, organic growth. It happens through reviews. It happens through social media shares, which I know you're already doing, and those shorts and and all the other ways that you package up an episode and make it high quality. That's where organic growth comes from, and having the patience, because it does take some time, but it's kind of like that, exponential curve. Once it starts taking off, you build that momentum, compound interest works in your favor.
I love that. That's such good advice. And I love to hear too that, I being that we have over 100 episodes, I can repurpose those, right? And we can do a soft rollout or just dump 100 and be like, here you go, or I don't know, but that's interesting. I need to do that. But you were talking about during the filming process, right? So now we know after filming, let's go ahead, let's get it on every single platform that we possibly can. Don't be picky, because you are correct. I'm like, man, I don't use TikTok. Like, I don't really want to jump into that because I know the algorithm's good. It's going to suck me in and I'm going to be, back on TikTok, which I don't want to be, but my content can live there, whether I'm utilizing it or not. So that's really good information, and I appreciate that. But let's talk about during the recording process. How do we streamline that?
Most important thing, one of the biggest mistakes I see podcasters make is they make it all about themselves and they don't get to the meat early on. So let me explain. First question, is it, hey, how you doing today? Hey, take me back. Where'd you grow up? Does anybody really care? Unless that's a significant portion of their story. Here's what the statistics show us, because a lot of people are obsessed with the numbers, downloads and views. Downloads being when somebody clicks on, an audio platform and listens to your show. Views on YouTube when somebody clicks on the video, right? Those are those two statistics that everybody's obsessed with. How do I get more views? How do I get more downloads? That's reach. That's not retention. Those are two different things. And not all, just to take YouTube for an example, because that's your main platform, not all views are created equal. The view where somebody clicks on it, watches for a few seconds, goes, this isn't for me, clicks off, that's obviously not equal to the view where somebody watches the whole thing, right? So since not all views are created equal, what we want to measure too is retention. And the statistic that's startling in podcasting is that 80% of people who make it through the first 3 minutes of the podcast will watch or listen to the whole thing. 80% of those people who make it through the first 3 minutes. But for the average podcast, less than 20% make it through the first 3 minutes. So what that tells us is that those first 3 minutes are your ticket to getting somebody to stick around for the whole thing. Somebody clicks on your show because they say, okay, this title, this description, this thumbnail maybe is making me a promise that, hey, they're going to deliver some value to me, either teach me, inspire me, entertain me, one of those things. That's a promise. And I'm going to click on that. And what I'm doing for those first couple of minutes is evaluating, are they delivering on that promise? If the episode says this, are they delivering this? If not, I'm clicking off. If so, I'm going to stay. And then after 3 minutes, I'm no longer evaluating, should I stick around? Now I'm committed the rest of the way. So the mistake that people make is they take too long to get into the content. They'll beat around the bush and people go, this is not what I'm here for. I'm here for the 5 secrets to making more money or growing my business or whatever. I'm not here to learn that this dude grew up in Memphis, Tennessee, so get to the meat fast. And that's my number one piece of advice I'd say for podcasting.
That's great advice. But that also, I feel, is somewhat contradicting because we're talking about story, right? We're talking about building that story. So as you're saying that, I'm thinking about asking those hard-hitting questions in the beginning, right? And I've started to take little bits and pieces of my podcast and making an intro, but nonetheless,
yes.
Again, sorry, audience, this is going to be me just squeezing out some great information from somebody who's more well-versed than I am, but I love this. But asking those heavy hitting questions in the beginning and then somewhat tying into why they should listen to this person later, right? Or maybe is there an arc to the conversation that you think is important?
Story up front is really good if somebody's story. Yes, exactly. If somebody's story is the reason why they're there. So why are you bringing somebody on the show? If they're a subject matter expert, ask them right off the bat, what is your XYZ framework to do this? Tell me how you can help people. But if somebody's on because they had an inspiring story or something changed their life, or, like for me, you could maybe go either way. You could ask me, what was that moment when you started, for example, what was that moment like? Kind of like what you asked me, and dive right into a story. People love to hear stories. So you're right. I certainly don't want to de-emphasize that. The thing that you do very well, I've seen on your YouTube, is you do start with that clip. You don't start with the intro. The intro is an important branding piece, right? So it should be in there. But the very first thing, it should either be some sort of custom intro or a highlight from the show, like a little teaser. This is again, it's a promise. This is what you're going to get if you stick around. And instead of this slow ramp up, like we have to read this long bio and introduction of the guest and welcome them and make them feel comfortable. Nah, let's get right to the meat of it. And some podcasters, some people I work with, like what they do is they actually hit record and they start kind of, fluffing the guest up and whatever. And then we end up cutting out most of that. Right. But it's the best of both worlds. It makes the guest comfortable, but it doesn't end up making the final cut of the podcast episode. But yeah, I'd say that's the most important thing. If you want to lead with story, it's a great idea. If that story is powerful enough, and if that story is the reason that person's there. If it's more subject matter, then get some good actionable nuggets out of the way up front, and then earn the opportunity to keep them with more stories and engaging insights after that.
Well said. That's some really good insight, and I appreciate that through and through. It is an ever-evolving, ever-changing, just lessons on lessons on lessons when it comes to starting something like this, right? And I know firsthand, having people that are mission driven and maybe have podcasts themselves, going through that and learning lessons the hard way. We always talk about just going for it. Don't wait. Just gosh, I don't feel as though I'm great at what I do, but it started with me with a very dull blade, just sawing back and forth till I finally made a cut. And I'm like, oh, wow, there's a spark here. I feel it,
Yeah. I like this phrase from James Clear, who wrote one of the best books of all time, Atomic Habits. He says you have to systemize before you optimize. So in podcasting, there's so many people who are afraid to start. And this is just like anything, right? We mull over the business idea for months and months and months, and we're trying to perfect every little piece of it. And then we bring it out to test the market and we go, holy crap, I had no idea. Bring your product to test sooner. And that works with podcasts too. Systemize before you optimize. Put it out there. Yeah, don't worry, the whole world isn't going to see it. Like, don't worry. I wish it were that easy, but unfortunately, early on, your podcast usually just lives on some dark corner of the internet, and your mom and your dog watch it. And then, a few episodes in is when you finally start building a little bit of momentum. But systemize, get it out there. Put in a system where, I'm going to make a promise to myself where I'm going to record once a week, or I'm going to record once a month and batch content together so that I can roll it out every week. Put that system in place, test the market, kind of like you would with a business plan. Because we've seen business plans where people have these great ideas, but it's only in their own head. And so they spend months trying to optimize it before they even put it out to test. And it fails because they didn't get any feedback on it.
Come on. You guys taking notes? Baby, you taking notes over there? I hope everybody at home's taking notes. And I know
you already started, so you did the right thing.
No, this is great. And holy smokes, was it a lot of just eating crow, like live? We started live. It was 30 live shows in 30 days, and it was me being like, well, I can't talk today. Sorry, guys, just stumbling over my words and didn't know how to articulate questions properly. But I love what you said there. You know, there's no reason to perfect something before you dive in, because the perfect that you see now, you're going to learn is not perfect, you know, right after you get going. You'd be like, oh shoot, this that's not how I painted this picture at all, and it's not what it was going to be from the beginning. But that's why just diving in is important. But let's I know we're kind of jumping all over the handling of a podcast and starting and finishing and all of this, right? But let's say you're starting a podcast and you need to reach out to people to have on your show. That can be very tough. It can be very daunting. And I feel as though it took me so long to come up with a way that felt like secure. Not only do we have the guests on the show, but we have a questionnaire and things like that to get to know them a little bit better. But what advice do you have for people to have great guests on the show?
When at all possible, stay in your niche. That's the most important thing. And that doesn't mean that if your podcast is for, B2B business owners, for example, that you only have to have B2B business owners on. But think about what value can this guest provide to my audience. That's the most important thing. So they can be from all over, across industries, all walks of life. I'm not saying you need one particular type of guest, but they all have to have in common that they provide value and speak to that particular person. So in the B2B business owner space, maybe you have an accountant on, but what do they better be talking about? They better be talking about the B2B business, space and taxes and stuff like that. So find guests that aren't necessarily in a particular subset of people, because you want diversity with your guests, but find guests that can provide value to the audience that ideally you were once, because again, you're in best position to serve the person that you once were. So when it comes to more, tactical ways to actually do that, a social media post sometimes goes a long way, right? A ton of people on LinkedIn, they're all trying to get on podcasts, right? It's a great opportunity. Use some discernment here. Don't just take any old person. Like you got a form to fill out. And I know, like, I talked with your assistant before this, Alexander. Like, this is, a serious show. You're not just letting anybody on who has a business and a message to share. So be discerning about it. A social media post is great to, collect leads and potential guests for your show, but make sure that you do the due diligence of making sure they're good fits, because you can't afford to be picky when it comes to guests on your podcast. There are enough people out there who want to be guests that you can afford to be a little bit picky and not just let any old person on. If you're struggling and you don't feel comfortable with, reaching out to strangers and having people on, start with the people within your network. Sure, you have past coworkers, even family members and friends. If you really want to start simple, get some reps, get some of those reps, get that practice in, get those people on your show. And most importantly, I would say, when it comes to guest booking, because scheduling is sometimes very difficult, record at least 5 to 8 episodes before starting to roll them out, because get some in the can so you're not scrambling and trying to desperately find a guest. And always be a few weeks ahead so that you have the opportunity to, take a breath if you need to, because that's really, consistency is the most rewarded thing in podcasting. And to give yourself a little bit of a buffer so that if no great guest opportunity shows up for you, you have some time. I think that's another important piece of it too.
Such great advice. And I hope everybody took a piece of that with them. Anybody that's sitting here listening, start with the people around you. Gosh, I love that, man.
Yeah.
I love that. And as you said, make sure that the people that come on are pertaining to your audience. I love that packaging. It's really nice. You can look around you and gosh, man, grandma is a really good storyteller, or, whatever it may be, or maybe my coworker is the one that taught me about sales. And if that's in your niche, talk to them. I'm sure they'd love to sit down and have a conversation. And if you're banking those conversations, like you said, well, they don't all have to air, but you got 5 sitting there. Maybe by the 5th, you realize, okay, I'm figuring out that this is my voice. Those other 3 conversations weren't it. But don't let it hold you back. Start. That's great advice, Jon. I love that. Before we already are at an hour here, Jon.
Time flew. I could talk to you all day, man.
Oh, so good. So good. Well, Story Trust Media, incredible. You started this and you are excelling in a really cool way. I love to see people doing things that are so unique like yourself. And you're so right when it comes to authenticity and bringing that more authenticity into the world, sharing more of your story and building trust with a real audience, as I like to call them, the community. So let's kind of wrap things up by really saying who your ideal clientele is. So if the people are listening right now, they can say, hey, that's me. I need to go to Jon for XYZ. So let's sum up everything that Jon is and Story Trust Media. And let's get some people under your wing here.
Sure. If you're a mission driven messenger, so think about that. If you're somebody who you're not just trying to grow your business, you're not just trying to make more money, although that can be a piece of it, but you have a mission to share with the world. Maybe you're a nonprofit and you're quite literally doing things in the community. We work with several of those. Maybe you're a coach who wants to help somebody through a particular challenge that you once had gone through, and now you're on the other side of that and want to share. Maybe you're somebody who's a subject matter expert and you're simply looking to become more of an authority in that niche and share your knowledge so that other people can thrive and grow much like you have. Mission driven messengers, those are the people that I'm looking for who really want to become that authority driver in their area. That's why our 4-word framework is it starts, of course, with content, because content builds authority, which is our second word, which ends up building trust with your audience. Once they see you showing up over and over again and consistently delivering value, it trains their brains to say, I got to click on this video. I got to watch him. Every time I watch him or her, I learn something, right? So it trains them. That builds trust, and that makes somebody either want to work with you or just continue to consume your content. And then trust drives results. So again, those are the 4 things that I focus on: content, authority, trust, results. Storytrust.media is where you can learn more and book a 30-minute consultation if you're interested in what we do. Is the idea is turning your message and your podcast specifically, because that's the medium that we believe is the most effective, into a content creation engine. So not just a show, but repurposed as far as video content, blog and newsletter content, other forms of social media graphics. And we help people create all of that who don't have the time to do that, and they want to offload that to somebody else, but still become an authority in their niche. So if that's you, I would love to get in touch, and maybe we're the right fit to work together, maybe not. Either way, I love to talk to people who are in the mission driven messaging space.
I am that guy. I need you, Jon. Sold. Not only me, but I have some other people in the podcasting space that I'm sure I would love to just connect people. Good people deserve good people. And I love what you stand for. I love the concept of your business. I love who you are as an individual. And I thank you. I honor your time. Is there anything else that you'd like to touch on before we let you go?
I just want you to do me one more favor. Okay, Alexander, can you just give me one more of those that applause sound effect for people helping people and for what Alexander J. Ward does for this world? Just hit that applause one more time for you, man. Can you do that for me?
Feels good. Thank you, brother.
So what you're doing is exactly what the world needs more of. And that's what I'm so passionate about. Obviously, working with people and producing their content and making money and all that. Yeah, that's sure. That's important to me. I'm not going to lie. But what you're doing is exactly what our world needs more of. So people helping people on YouTube, I want you to subscribe. If you're listening to this maybe on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, if that ends up coming out, Alexander, leave a review up there and subscribe, because when we make those little deposits when it comes to positive content in the world, that helps retrain the algorithm. And believe me, you want an algorithm that uplifts you, not that tears you down and creates more division in your life. And that's what you get when you're tuning into content like this, like people helping people. So keep doing what you're doing, Alexander. We need you. So that's what I want to say. And other people who are doing similar things to what Alexander is doing here and people helping people, keep doing what you're doing. We need you in our world.
Gosh, thank you. It's an honor to have you on, Jon, and we will be talking off air because, again, I want to dive into everything that you have going on. And welcome to the People Helping People family. If there's anything that I have that you need, or maybe I can help guide you, or if I don't have it in particular, I will find somebody that does. That's why we're here. So thank you so much. Welcome to the People Helping People family. And we honor your time and look forward to hearing from you again.
Man, thank you so much, Alexander. It's an honor to be here. I loved our conversation today.
Thanks so much. Ladies and gentlemen, Jon from Story Trust Media. Deuces, brother. Yeehaw. God dang. Another amazing episode. My girl's over here with her headphones like this, smiling. She's enjoying the show. I wish we could see your face right now. Your glasses are all sideways, and it's so funny. Jon, that was so great. Thank you so much for being here, man. So good. I hope everybody took as much from that conversation as I did. So incredible. I just love what you stand for. Take baby steps. Don't let yourself not take the first step, right? Take the first step, but make sure that you're doing it. Gosh, what can I say? He covered it all. Such a great episode. Thank you, everybody, for tuning into this. Thank you, baby. She's on the ones and twos over there. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in to this incredible episode of People Helping People Live. And I just love you guys. As you guys know, this is chapter 5 at peoplehelpingpeoplelive.com. You can go there if you want to help us support giving kids new backpacks, kids in the foster home here in the Tucson, Arizona region. But you can check out our website. All the information's there. And just continue to be the light that you want to see in the world. And Jon, thank you again for your time. We appreciate you. And we will catch y'all on the next one. Deuces. I got to hit the button. There it is. Deuces.
Yeah. What's everybody fighting for? Why can't people help people? That's the question.